All right. All right. Thanks to those joining me live. I wasn't sure if I was live or not, but it looks like I am. Let me do a quick sound check. Here. One moment. All right. Thanks to those. Yeah. Sounds definitely on. All right. So to those joining me live, archive, thank you for joining me. I'm very sorry for that little slip up there at the beginning of the video. All right. Thumbs up the video. If you're watching archive, please leave a comment. Please tell me what you think. And remember to hit that notification button so you can go ahead and join in my live feeds whenever I come on live. Also, the chat is open. Feel free to join the chat. All right? Feel free to join the chat. Well, first of all, I've been doing, and I'm going to keep doing it, right? And I've been doing some live scoring, not that the fights are live, but meaning I'm watching the fights. Fights I haven't watched in quite some time, and I'm watching the fights and I'm, rescoring them round by round, right? Trying to be as objective as I can. I'm not perfect, right? But trying to score these fights the way they should be scored. I think the point is sometimes nostalgia is a very strong thing. Things people repeat over the years, are a strong thing. Going back, watching these fights, not only is it fun because I love boxing, I love watching good boxing fights, but if it's also good to kind of revisit them. They're in the annals of time, might as well. But I'm sometimes I look at a judge's scorecard and I say, how the hell can that judge have it that way? I understand that it's subjective. I understand that maybe it's possible, but it's just how do improbabilities happen at very convenient times in boxing? And that to me is the issue. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, and as I was actually doing the fights, scoring them round by round, I realized something, you know, and I'm not exactly sure. And if anybody knows this, that they can, that's why the chat's there. That's why the comment section is there. That's why you can make video responses, right? But and I welcome that because this is a discussion I believe we should have. Tonight, there's people concerned that if the fight's close in any way, shape, or form, that Canelo Alvarez will get the fight. Now, I don't really like thinking of. I'm one of those. If it happens, we'll explore it then. I don't want that to get in the way of a great fight, and I don't want to start making accusations before anything even happens. Let's watch the fight first. We don't want to go in there with a perception like that. But nonetheless, people are saying these things. So I sat down and I said, what if you listening to this or me, I'm doing it to myself, but you do it to you, right? They're like, what if you were asked basically to be a judge for one of these fights? Well, what if somebody asked you and said, hey, in whatever you fill in the blank, but you came out for the impression that you got to make sure a certain fighter wins that fight. Let's just say you're corrupt, right? I know you're not, but let's say you were. And you're basically told, hey, I don't care what it is, you got to find a way for my guy to win, right? Whether they said it directly, indirectly, let's put that aside. What I want to do is I want to put myself in that box. I want to put myself, and I want you guys, the listeners, to do the same thing. Put yourself in that situation, and let's look at the realities, right? What are some realities? Number one, you don't know as a judge how round one's going to go, how round two is going to go. You don't even know what's going to go the distance. You don't even know there's a head clash that could happen after 4 rounds. It's going to go to the scorecards, all right? So you got to keep all those things, you got to keep them in mind. right? You got to keep every single one of those things. It's your job to make sure. It shouldn't be, but it's your job to make sure one guy wins. In this case, let's say fighter A. Let's say fighter, you're gonna make sure that fighter A does everything possible to win. And the more I kind of thought of these scenarios, the more I realized, oh, that's why a lot of these scorecards are so lopsided. Well, when I see some of these decisions, and I even say to myself, wow, if he was going to rob the guy, why didn't he at least make it closer? Well, why not, at least 115, 113, or something like that? At the very least, a 115, 114. Like by a point, so you could have more room. And I realized, well, you don't get to watch the whole fight, and then you're not given like time to score it again and then turn in your card. No. Like you're scoring it round by round. Right? That's the reality of the situation, and that's the way you should be doing it. Right? Let's say you can leave a round or two off, or you leave a round pending just in case, right? But overall, as the fight progresses, right? That's why we see the 116, 112s in favor of De La Hoya over Ike Corte. And now keep in mind, not every corrupt judge is literally, it's not like people think, right? Like it's not like, they're taken to a room somewhere, I don't know if this scenario's ever played out, but I doubt it's like this, and the promoter literally says, hey, I need you to have my guy win, okay? If he doesn't win, you don't get paid or something. It's not really like that, all right? These judges like their jobs, right? Have you ever noticed that a lot of the same judges come back to these big fights, and we wonder why, right? It's if you're a quote unquote team player and you're part of the team, you'll get rehired for the job. So how does this work? Okay, this is one of the reasons I've always been against a major promoter treating the media and treating judges and referees to dinner, and we're gonna give you a nice buffet. I'm gonna take all the judges out to eat. Although I'm just gonna treat them to a nice dinner. Hey, so and so, you are unbelievable judge. I just want to tell you that. I hope we can work together in the future again. That's all you gotta say. And even if somebody points that out, hey, you took them to dinner. You treated them to a great dinner, and you're telling them you hope you can work more fights in the future. You could easily say, oh, I'm just saying he's a great judge. He calls it down the middle. He's fair. I didn't tell him what to do, and technically you didn't, right? There's ways to manipulate. There's ways to say things without actually saying them, all right? Language is, okay, far more advanced than just the direct words that we say. The underlying meanings of what we say, okay, our body language, okay, our code meaning is far more powerful than any direct meaning that we're trying to express, right? I don't, and the problem with that, though, is that you just need an understanding between those two people. But when you get accused of doing certain things like that, you can easily deny them because you didn't directly say those things, right? But anyway, let's say you're a corrupt judge. Let's say we're watching a fight. Ding, ding, round one, right? It's a feel-out round. Your guy's getting jabbed, right? But he's coming forward in the fight. He's coming forward, but he's getting outlanded, clearly, right? But it's a feel-out round, right? Nobody was hurt in the round. No devastating shots were landed, you know? And so what do you do as a judge? You're like, at this point, you don't know if any of the other rounds are going to get worse for him. For all you don't know how round 2, round 3, round 4, you don't know how those rounds are going to go, right? So what you start doing is you start finding any reason at all to give the round to your guy. Okay, it's your in a 12-round fight. And keep in mind, we also got to keep other things in mind. What if there's a head clash? What if there's a technical decision or something like that? We got to keep that in mind too. But let's say you're just going to focus on the 12 rounds here. We're going to just keep it at that. You don't know how the other rounds are going to go. So you're going to start doing this thing where, all right, you're going to find any reason to give the round to the guy you need to see win. All right? So if he's coming forward, he's the aggressor. Right? And you could just say, well, he wasn't hurt. Oh, he just, at least he was throwing. He didn't land as many, but he was more active. He was the aggressor. And, the other guy didn't even hurt him. And it's the first round. So as the fight progresses, and there wasn't a lot of action, it was a feel-out round. So because it's the first round, you're going to give it to your guy. Okay? You're going to give round 10 to fighter A, and you're not going to give it to fighter B. Okay? You want to start with that one-round advantage. Again, you don't know how round 2 is going to go, right? And you don't want to, and you cannot give the other guy 6 rounds before, at any point in the fight. All right? Round 2, the action starts to pick up. All right? Now keep in mind, you've already given round 1, which he probably shouldn't have won, but you gave him round 1 because he was being the aggressor. All right? Let's say hypothetically that's what you're doing. So you're giving him because of that. Let's say he continues being the aggressor. At that point, you already set a precedent within yourself, right? You've already set a standard, and you're already thinking to yourself, I have to have a consistent argument in case my guy really doesn't win. I need to have a consistent argument as to why I give him the fight. So if he continues being the aggressor, even he's being thoroughly outboxed, and still not knowing how shit's going to play out, okay, in the remainder of the fight, you don't know if he's going to start getting embarrassed even more. So if you have enough of a reason here, even though he shouldn't win the round, guess what you're going to do? You're going to give him the round. You got to give him 7 rounds in this fight. Round 2, you're going to give him that round. If you're under that pressure to give him that, you're going to give him that round, right? You want to get as many rounds early as possible. A lot of people forget the early rounds too, right? So you already have it 2-1 for a fighter that probably shouldn't be winning, right? Now, a lot of things at this point are running through your head. You know what I mean? A lot of things are probably running through your head, and you're wondering, okay, I have to, I can't give him all the rounds. So that's running through your mind, but right now you want to put some in the bank. Right? Round 3 comes along. It's more of the same, but your guy's still coming forward. You want to be consistent with your argument. When people ask you, why did you give him that you want to say, if you're going to say in round 1, you give it to him because he's the aggressor, right? Even if he's not doing anything with it, then you have to be consistent with that. So if the other guy is still coming forward, right, and it looks a lot like round 2, then guess what you're going to do, right? You are going to give him round 3. You will give him round 3. Before you know it, you got it 3 rounds to zip, all right? For a fighter who probably should be losing, 3 rounds to zip, right? So at this point, you're pretty comfortable. You got a 3-point advantage. So if you got a little bit of cushion there, so you have that in your mind, right? You also know that if let's say he loses the 4th, and it gets past the 4th, and there's a head clash or something, your guy's winning on your scorecard. So you got him good there. You got to keep him ahead the whole fight. He's got to be ahead the entire fight for that very reason, right? Let's say round 4, your guy does win that round. Like, he's still coming forward, but he starts landing big shots. He starts hurting the guy. He has a very good round. What's an easy round for you to score? But you have a little bit of a dilemma, though. The dilemma is you already gave him 3 rounds he doesn't even deserve, right? But you can't like not give him that round. He clearly won it. And he's also being more effective with his aggression this time. But you were giving him rounds before that because he was aggressive. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to give him that round. Okay? That's what you're going to do as a judge. All right? That's what you're going to do. Now, you may say to yourself, well, my guy won round 4. Now, they shouldn't do this. But they may flip one of these scores. Like they could have left the page blank and then just flip round 3. That way they can say, well, I had to give the other guy at least 1 round, but you're still up 3-1. Right? Let's say they do that, to give them the benefit of the doubt. Right? Because they want to give the other guy rounds he deserves as much as possible. Like they want their guy to actually win so they don't have to rob the other dude. But again, they're going round by round here. They don't know how the rest of the fight's going to play out. Okay? I'm pretty sure this happens a lot. That's why a lot of rounds look similar, yet you're wondering, why did you give him that round but not the other round? Okay, that's why that happens. All right? They can't leave all the 3, blank. But let's say they do that. Right? So at this point, you got 39-37, got a little bit of a cushion there, right? And again, let's say that their guy wins the next round. Let's just say it happens. They don't have to be corrupt in that round. Their guy won it. Clearly won the round. Right? So they get to go round 5. They give it to that guy. All right? Building a little bit more of a cushion. They were able to give the other guy at least 1 round. All right? Their guy wins the next round again. He's winning the middle rounds. Okay? Boom. You give yourself a little bit of a cushion. You're comfortable there. Okay, now in the back, you're still next round. Your guy doesn't win that round. Let's say he does not win that round, right? Hold on. You guys tell me you can't hear shit. First of all, sound check. Can you guys hear something? Hold on. Sound check. My sound's on, guys. My sound's on. I'll let me know, and then we'll go on from there, right? So let's say round 7, the other guy wins a round, okay? Well, you got a 4-point cushion there. You can give him that round, and you got to give him some rounds. You can't give all the rounds to your guy, all right? So let's say round 7, okay, fighter A doesn't win it, but this time you give it to fighter B, right? Now, there may be some, it might look a lot like round 2 did, but at this point, you got those earlier rounds out of the way, okay? Guys, please let me know in the chat if you can hear. Right? Somebody said they couldn't hear, so it threw me off a little bit. Right? All right, so round 8, your guy does not win the round. Right? Let's just say, let's just kind of, say that round 8 is won by fighter B. Let's just hypothetically, okay? Now at this point, you still got a cushion there, right? But there's 4 rounds to go. And maybe you're a little nervous at this point because you don't know how the other rounds are going to go, right? You just don't, right? Let's say that, again, fighter A wins a round, okay? Round 10, he legitimately wins it. You don't have to be corrupt, okay? All right, you give yourself a little bit of a cushion, right? Let's say the next round 10 is close. Let's say round 10 is close, right? Let's say it's close, hypothetically. If you score round 10 for fighter B, let's hypothetically say you were to score for fighter B. Look at the scorecard. If fighter B dominates like rounds 11 and 12, it's going to end up being a draw. Okay? So if round 10's close, what do you tell yourself? Well, I want to make sure that if the other guy completely dominates, and you never know, there might be a knockdown and need a little more of a cushion. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to give it to fighter A. You're not going to give it to fighter B. Okay? You want a cushion there. You don't want to give them the opportunity. You're trying to make the guy win. You don't want to draw. Okay, you don't know if he gets knocked down. You're a guy, right? It's late in the fight. Guys are getting tired. At this point, 4 or 5 rounds have been completely compromised, all right? Because you are trying to strategically make sure, not knowing how the fight's going to play out, you're trying to make sure that your guy wins, right? Let's say your guy legitimately wins round 11 and gets a knockdown. Let's just say that, okay? Look at how one-sided the fight is right now. Just because as a judge, I was trying to be, play insurance here and make sure that just in case, look how one-sided it is right now, right? And then let's say that round 12, your guy legitimately wins a round. He dominates the round, right? I got 117, 110, right? I got it 117, 110. Now, this is a big if I would have been if I wasn't corrupt and I would have scored it, as objective as I can. I know that there's going to be people that disagree with some of these rounds and all that, right? But let's say I was being objective. Instead of 117, 110, right? Let's say I would have properly scored round 1, right? For fighter B. Well, the fight's a little closer. Let's say I would have properly scored round 2, okay, for fighter B. Well, the fight's getting even a little closer. Let's say round 10, I properly scored it for the guy I actually thought won the round. 114, 113, right? Let's say I did that. Now, my guy is still winning. He's still winning the fight, right? That's why people say, well, the right guy won anyway. Well, people are missing the point. You're missing the entire point entirely, right? If the scorecard does not make sense, all right, either that's a very incompetent judge or the judge was up to some funky business, right? He was still trying to secure the fight for his guy, all right? That's just, that's why you got to look at those things. If somebody wants to say, yeah, I felt De La Hoya, Cortez, yeah, the 116, 112 was a little wide. I think that was wide, but I had De La Hoya winning by 1 point. Okay, if you watch the fight, then I could maybe see that. Okay, you could argue that. But when you actually look at the round by rounds, you see how these judges are being very selective with certain rounds. Okay, that's where you have to look at this, right? So the point of this video is going round by round, right? Just explain it round by round. Okay, as a judge, notice how lopsided it was, right? On the scorecard. Look how lopsided it was, and look at why it was that lopsided, right? At round 10, it was a close round. Let's say fighter B should have won the round, though. I gave it to fighter A because I was not sure what was going to happen in round 11 and 12. I didn't know, right? So I had to find any reason at all to give the round to my guy, right? I had to make sure that a draw was not possible. I had to make sure I had a cushion. That I just had to do that. Now, one way, in my opinion, that this problem could be fixed, there's one way to do it, okay? You can have the 3 judges. Every single one of those judges should not have a score sheet. They should not have a score sheet, okay? They should score the round 10-9. They should be given like a little, It doesn't have to be any bigger than a little business card, okay, with the name of the two fighters, okay, and they put 10-9 or 10-8 is a knockdown, right, or 9-10, 8-10, whatever it is, whatever they score it, and then they have to hand, and it'll say round one on it with their name, and they have to hand that to somebody else. That whoever that somebody else is has a scorecard and puts down those numbers. All right, that's the way it has to be. The judges shouldn't have the sheet with them this entire time. Okay, because when you actually watch boxing, when you sit down and you watch it, right? When you want to give the fight to the other guy, even if you're trying to be objective, even if you're not corrupt, you could subconsciously be thinking the way this corrupt judge was thinking. You could be thinking, like, what if the next round is even more one-sided? But this one's kind of close. I can maybe argue for this. Like, you will do those things. You will leave it empty to see how the next round plays out, and then you decide how you're going to score that round. But that's not the way you should score. That's not the way you should score. But anyway, this is why a lot of scorecards are so lopsided, because from the very beginning, judges are trying to, give an impression or see what's the impression that the fight's giving, right? They're trying to keep a healthy cushion there to make sure that the guy that they're trying to see win actually wins. Okay, and that's a very difficult thing to do. You don't know if you're the corrupt judge and you got to give that fight to somebody, like, no matter what. Could you just imagine if this dude gets dominated? So of course, any round where he lands a big shot, you're going to give it to him. Like if he's coming forward and he's not doing anything, but you'll just say he's the aggressor, he's making the fight, and you give him the damn round, right? Whatever it is, however you want to play it. If the other guy's not fighting at all, you're not even throwing punches, I gave it to him because of defense, and you score for him, right? This actually happens a lot, okay? And in boxing with so many rounds, right? Like when you look at something like MMA, mixed martial arts, right? Well, mixed martial arts is a little different. It's only a championship fight in mixed martial arts is I don't know what the hell happened here. So let's say Fighter X. I want to clear the scorecard here, so I don't know what the hell is going on over here. Anyway, forget about the scorecard. In 5 rounds, well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So if you're being constantly told, oh, this person's a franchise, this person, oh man, like let's say you're a judge, right? You're at a dinner and you just hear people talking, like just saying things like, oh, if Fighter X wins, I mean, he's a big pay-per-view star. I mean, he'll bring so much attention to Vegas, so much money coming to Vegas. If only he could win. Like, you just constantly be hearing that, right? Like, these judges are only human, okay? They can get the hint without you actually, like, you don't have to literally tell people, like, hey, this is what I want you to do. I want you to give it to, like, that's not the way it works, all right? So, like, in MMA, it's 25 rounds. So, obviously, if round one's close, you got to give it to your guy. You got to. There's only 5 rounds, right? Again, I don't follow MMA like that. I still think we should be wary. We shouldn't call every decision a robbery, okay? But a robbery or an attempted robbery, to me, is the same thing, okay? When you come out of a fight and you know it was a close fight, that could have gone either way, but you see a scorecard and you say to yourself, I can't believe, like, no matter what the other fighter did, like, even if you change what happened in the last 2 rounds, or let's say you watch a fight and like, it's close. You got it 5-5 after 10 rounds, and it's close, and there's some swing rounds, it is, but they announce the scorecards and they're so wide. Then that was a judge that had no intentions of scoring it for the other guy. Okay. Okay, that isn't even if the right guy won, it's still an attempted robbery. Okay, if you try to steal a bank and you get caught, how is that any less worse than stealing a bank and not getting caught? Okay, you're still stealing the bank, right? If you go rob a convenience store, whether you succeed or not, you're still trying to rob a convenience store. So this is why more and more people have to understand the 10-point must system. You have to understand that fights are scored in a round by round basis. You have to know that. And you can actually score it yourself. You don't need to listen. Like, it's all this extra shit. Like, when you got guys just making up scoring criterias and making shit up, like stuff like, well, you got to take it from the champion, and all these things are just folklore. Like, these things are not true. The term "you got to take it from the champion," that derived from the same mentality of, if you fight somebody in their home country, you got to win 8 rounds if you want to win a fight. You got to win 9 rounds if you want to win the fight. Those things are said not because that's the way you score boxing, but because of corrupt judges like this. All right. When you had judges telling people, or I'm sorry, when you had judges strategically scoring, right, trying to anticipate what the future holds and create a cushion in case something happens, and making sure that the other guy never wins 6 rounds throughout the fight. Okay. That's why they have sayings like, oh yeah, when you go to another country, you got to win like 10-9 rounds. Like that's why those sayings come up. The saying, you got to take it from the champion, right? Nowhere in the boxing scoring criteria, does it say, if you're a champion, you get the benefit of and it doesn't say that. That's made up shit. And it's derived from bullshit like this. Okay? From the moneymaker getting the benefit of the doubt every single time in every single round. Right? It's not because it was the right thing to do, but because of corrupt judges. All right? So repeating that narrative, all right, you're not being accurate. Like, you're not, when you say, oh yeah, well, you got to take it from the champion. When you say something like that, you're supporting the corruption, because that's not the way you should score it. You know who wins a round? The guy who wins a round. All right? That's who wins a round. Okay? The best guy that round should win the round. All right? It's not like, Usain Bolt is the fastest man in the world because, or was, I don't know if he still is, but point taken, okay? Just heed my point. Usain Bolt beats guys. Like, he doesn't get an extra 1/10 of a second. Like, oh yeah, to beat the fastest man in the world, you got to beat him by an extra 1/10 of a second. Like, that's bullshit. That's not true, right? So anyway, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think. This is DStyleBoxing. And hey, you know what? Keep it boxing.